Okay, so before we begin, check this idea out. Principal idea, right from this book, okay? I am in the Garden of Eden. That's preposterous, isn't it? Well, bear with me for a minute. God's man is God's manifest. It's the substance of God known within God's mind. I am is the presence. It is the life eternal. In the Garden of Eden is at rest in its perfect idea. Now, when the five senses come into being, because Yahweh is the author of matter, it is Satan, masquerading as good in the Bible, it's not the truth, okay? Yahweh is Satan. It is the snake in the garden. So when your five senses come to you, they come to you bearing a problem. That is the snake in the garden. You never left heaven. You're in the perfect rest of God now. All you have to do is know the truth, and it is the truth that sets you free. I am in the Garden of Eden.
I am of the pure mind of God. I am the resurrection and the life in my body, my finances, my relationships, and my world. I qualify everything in my world with perfection. I am perfection. I am this perfect day, and the life that lives in me is the light that cannot fail. I accept only God's perfection, His good, in my outer circumstances. I know in my heart that God is all in all. I am absolutely not concerned about what happens, because I know wonderful things are happening now.
Welcome. Just another video from Sheboygan coming your way. But you gotta see this though, for real. Let me just show this to you. So as you can see, as you look out, this is where I'm choosing to meditate right now. And what a better thing to do, right? To get into the allness of spirit. So, some things that I'm going to talk about, just so you know what's on the agenda for today, is, this is the author's copy of the book. I just did the first round of edits. So I've said since the beginning, July 21st is when this will be ready in print version in its perfected form. What's cool about it is it's got the nice matte cover. It feels really cool. It's not just a book. It's actually an operator's manual. Spiritual Special Forces, you take this with you. It's a playbook that you'll want to be with every day. It has the action strategy sheets in it. It has the want list. It has the mind maps. And the way that I want to just instruct you to use it, if you've been following and you're working on this PTT technique and doing daily PTT, is that you want to read the entire, first of all, you want the physical book. You want to carry it with you. You want to use it as a playbook, all right? I'll give you some ideas of what's in here. So you can see this is in full color. It is the daily action strategy guides, okay? And then you also have you'll fill out your want list and your I am statement. So looking at these things 3 times a day is what gives you unbeatable focus, because you're always giving your command to keep focused on the prize, focused on the goal, focused on where you're going, focused. And this is what makes men unbeatable, men, women, etc. It makes you unbeatable when you never lose focus. Now, tie that in with a mission, over-encompassing mission of why you're here. Now, one of the exercises in here in a chapter, I believe, let me see what chapter it is. Well, first of all, let me just explain to you what the chapters are all about and tell you why this book comes together the way it does. So first of all, you'll see how to use this book for maximum results. Read that immediately. Don't skip any page in this book, and don't try to rush through it. This is a manifesto disguised as a little, mini book. It's chocked full of what I call first principle ideas, nuggets of wisdom that you're going to want to use. Because if you're doing PTT, you have to use these nuggets of wisdom to anchor yourself to the divine mind. That's the whole goal. So chapter 1, how to get home to God. This is what it's all about. Now, one of the things I'm going to talk about towards the end of this talk is that right here, right behind me, you can see this Blue Harbor Resort here. Whoops. This is where we did our last Spiritual Special Forces workshop in Sheboygan. And you can see, just ultimate luxury, beauty on the beach. It looks like you're right on the ocean. You're on Lake Michigan. So this is called the Malibu of the Midwest. Okay, we're in the Malibu of the Midwest. We're going to have our next workshop here. We decided that we're going to do it in October. I believe it's October 21st through the 24th. And the reason why we're going out that far is because the, worldwide event, the Ryder Cup, is going to be here, the golf championship, and that's going to be in September. And so this place will be absolutely flooded. People from all over the world are flying in. They're paying, thousands and thousands of dollars to rent spaces out here. This is it. This is the 2020 spot that you want to be in. This is where consciousness of the world is coming here, all right? And so we're going to come after that event, and we're going to do what I call Spiritual Special Forces Part 2. And the name of the workshop is the Ascended Master Retreat, and the tagline is Be Reborn. Be reborn. That's what's happening in the world right now. It's the Great Purification. It's Noah's Ark. It's being reborn. All right, so go back to the chapters here. How to get home to God is the culmination of the big overreaching ideas of the book. So you want to really pay really close attention while you're reading. Don't be distracted. Chapter 2, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Well, that's the one thing on most people's mind is, how do I stay safe in these times? Well, read the chapter. It's got great advice for you. Chapter number 3, how God's law of forgiveness brings immediate healing, perfect solutions, and meets every human need. That's all about the Lord's Prayer and what it means to forgive, or in other words, to yield before truth. The whole point of PTT is that you're yielding before truth. You're laying down your human life, your carnal life, to gain your true life in spirit. You're being reborn. That's what the Ascended Master Paul was here to teach us. And so as the prophecy lays out, hold on one second. My sheets got tossed away. As the St. Paul talked about being renewed in your mind, it's because he knew the truth. Now, when I had prophecy a long time ago, the lady said that I was the modern day Paul and that I would do exactly what I'm doing today, and she told me all about all that I was going to go through, right? So this idea of being renewed in your mind, it's almost like I feel like I'm catching up to myself. Like perhaps I was Paul, and now I'm coming back into the knowledge that I already knew. It feels really weird like that. But that's exactly where we're going, and that's where this whole ministry has been heading. So anyway, that workshop's coming, and it's going to be transformational, leveling up, stepping into your best self, and it's all going to be done through the collective immersion, okay? This is about an immersion collective live in-person training. And there's nothing else that beats it, because when you get together with, 20, 30, 40, 50 or less people. It's the ideal range capacity. You get together with a small group, yet large enough to create a group collective, and you focus intently on each other's transformation, and you have the right knowledge and the right training and skill sets coming at you. You not only build lifetime connections with people that really make your whole life meaningful. Without them, I wouldn't imagine life would be meaningful at all. But you also get the opportunity to gain years worth of progress in a few days. And that's why people do these things. That's why you go to live events, and you want to discern which ones you're going to at this time, because let's be honest, going to a, how to 10x your real estate empire event, may not be the most beneficial thing for you if everything is heading in a certain direction that you know not of, because you lack for wisdom of what the world is going to do right now at this time. Nobody expected 2020, nobody expected 2021, and I'm going to tell you what, I expected it. I wrote songs about it back in 2019. And I'll put links in the description below for those songs so you can actually hear them. If you listen to the words, you will know that I knew. And see, that's the whole point, is that my whole life has been this kind of craziness. Paranormal is the normal in my life. So that's what we're here to do in this workshop, is if you come to this experience, you're going to be into this consciousness, and you're going to make a transformation of consciousness, because there is no other choice. So details about that will come soon, probably in the next video or so. And you want to start preparing ahead of time, and you want to get a spot right away, because we're going to cap it. We want it to be a small, mid-sized group so we can create intimate bonding, connection. Come out here, we're going to be right here in the middle of paradise. We're going to do bonfires at night, cleanses. We're going to do meditations. I'm going to take you on my personal meditations. I'm going to show you my daily habits. And I'm going to release all the new things that God's going to be putting into my life between now and then. So I really want you to be there. Look, these are the times right now where people are the most uncertain. And it reminds me of what I learned when I was playing hockey. It's a great analogy. When I was coming into the phase of body checking, when, it gets real, because you have an adversary who is now trying to really hurt you in the game. The whole purpose of a body check is to hurt you. Let's just be blunt about it. It's not to take the puck away from you. It's actually to hurt you. So I was going into that phase looking at my stature, saying, I'm not really that big yet. I'm like 12 years old. I was a little tiny guy yet. And my mentor, he had played junior A hockey at this time. And he said, listen, I'm going to tell you the secret about how you go into battle, how you go into this ice game. He says, you go in full force. And I'm going to tell you why. He said, if you go in timid, he's like, your opponent is going to crush you. You're going to get hurt. If you go in timid, in other words, if you reserve, if you pull back during these times, what I'm submitting to you is that your enemy, your adversary right now is darkness rising again to be destroyed. It is the collective ignorance of the matrix of dreaming. The reason why it's doing this is because the consciousness scale has gotten too high. And so what that means is that it's the overthrow of that stronghold. And so those who are of the light, they are being persecuted. It's not that they will be persecuted, it's that they are being persecuted. Yes, even yours truly, we are being persecuted by the darkness, and you will be as well. Because it was written centuries ago. I did an immaculate breakdown of this right here, this scripture right here, the concept of our great power. And the link for that below. By the way, I have these private recordings that I don't want to make public. But number one is a stern warning. And it's for those people who want to do evil in the world. They want to participate with the wrong forces. They want to hurt you. They want to sweep it under the rug and pretend that they're just doing their job or obeying orders, right? Well, how does history repeat that, right? I have a stern warning from you that comes from God. God gives me insight in advance and tells me what's coming. And you'll see by the songs below, I wrote all about this. I knew all this was going to get like this. I didn't know it was going to be the way that it worked out, but I knew darkness was coming. And that's why we began starting Spiritual Special Forces. That's why I ran to God with every ounce of my being. I ran away from the business world. I sold all my possessions. Do you realize that I sold all of my possessions? I got rid of everything. I stopped chasing those things because I knew this was coming. And thankfully, by the grace of God, Sabrina got us into this place of absolute paradise where I could have the freedom to feel that continuity of God's thought. Okay? So anyway, I put a couple private videos. I have a stern warning, and I also have a complete breakdown of this scripture right here. So what I did is I broke this all down, and before I even wrote this book, I gave a summation of everything about that ancient forbidden scripture, right? This is, right here, the concept of our great power is one of the oldest, most sacred scriptures. Now, I got to watch out here because there was he left. He was a wasp, okay? So he was not coming to do any evil. So anyway, when you read it for yourself, you'll start to have aha moments. When you go to these Nag Hammadi library forbidden scriptures, you'll start to see the truth. Now, I wrote a summation in here, and I really want you to know it's coming. So let's get back to the chapters. So, how to get home to God, chapter 1. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, chapter 2. You're going to want to use these first principle ideas as your safeguard. So what I recommend is you get the physical book and you highlight these first principle ideas and carry the book with you. That's what I'm doing. I made this as like my cheat sheet blueprint of all of the divine ideas that I want to carry with me, like my toolkit. It's my battle kit, so that when the outer comes at me with vengeance, right? Because that's what it will do to those of the light. It will follow you. What you must know is you must know the thoughts of God. And I'm going to tell you why it's very, very important. And it's right here on page number 45. And I have it right here. It says, step number 1, deny all material living ideas. Now it says, you do not live in the flesh, and all suggestions that you are, the Adam dream mesmerizing you. Look at what is written in John verse 1. The Word becomes human. The Word is the living imagination of Christ. Now that you know that, let me read the scripture. Verse number 1. In the beginning, the Word already existed, the living imagination of Spirit, omnipotence itself, the eternal place of rest. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. Verse number 2, he was already with God in the beginning. He means the one man. There's only one man. There are not 7 billion mortals on this planet. That is a dream. There is one man. I'll show you who that one man is right now. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Now follow with me on this meditation, because I'm going to show you the one living man. Close your eyes and just let that breath out and let it go. Now, take your eyes behind your eyelids while they're closed and look up towards the center of your third eye and out your forehead. Okay, keep your eyelids closed. Keep looking up and out your forehead. Now just take another breath and let it out. Okay, now you can relax your eyes and you can keep your eyes closed, and repeat after me. Great and masterful presence which I am. Now, as you say this, contemplate living in your imagination, being the ray of the sun of Christ, imagination. Great and masterful presence, I love and adore thee. I give back unto thee the fullness of all creative love, all passion, all wisdom, and all power. And through this power I render unto thee full capacity to bring into my hands and use the fulfillment of my every desire. I no longer claim any power as my own, for I now claim thee, the only and all-conquering presence in my home, my life, my business, my world, and my affairs. I know that thou art ruler over time, place, and space, and therefore thou requirest only now to bring into visible activity thy every perfection. I remain steadfast in this, and I shall not allow my mind to waver from it, for at last I know that we are one. Now just sit in this space and contemplate life eternal in the I am presence. Okay, take a breath, blow it out, and open your eyes and come back. That was just a snapshot. That's the true man. There's only one man that was ever created, the living Christ. You live, move, and have your being in Christ. Everything else is a dream. So, verse 3 says, everything came into existence through him. Again, you live, move, and have your being in living imagination of Spirit Christ. Not one thing that exists was made without him. Verse number 4, he was the source of life, and that life was the light for humanity. Verse number 5, the light shines in the dark, and the dark has never extinguished it. Now, we know where this ends because we know the dark has never extinguished it. The true man, you, exist in the mind of God, and you cannot be removed. And I want to share with you a couple more ideas. These are first principle ideas. Again, what I do is I highlight these, okay? And when I highlight them, I refer back to them and I feed on them. Because the more you contemplate them, the more wisdom comes through you. See, man is a medium for wisdom or error. Here's another idea for you. God's man is the only man in all creation. I just told you who that was. And this man is not deceived, coerced, manipulated, or capable of making a mistake, or finding penalties for doing so. Any belief to the contrary is satanic, meaning it derives, get this, pay attention, from the superstition that there exists a man outside of God's full reach and capacity to maintain and govern his substance entirely. Do you realize what I just said to you? You see, when you look on the terror screen and you see that people are coming and they're going to do evil things, your mesmeric human mortal mind wants to go into trance, and it wants to create that because you're the instrument of wisdom or error. Now, I also described to you in this book that the only thing that God ever gave man was free will. Everything else belongs to God. You have free will. Everything else belongs to God. Everything else belongs to God. What do you think the fulcrum of power is? What I call David's fulcrum. You know, David represents the fifth element, the rising in the ether, okay? The rising in the ether, okay? The ether, earth, water, air, fire, the four elements, the four crosses, is the carnal creation. And the ether is the spirit that rises. It's the ascension out of matter. It's what the gospel that I told you to look up, the private video below when I break the whole thing down, check it out. But most importantly, because it will probably be the first time you've ever heard it that way, is if you get this book, I break down that it's all talking about the fulcrum of power. The only thing God ever gave man was free will to choose between truth or error. You see, when you decide to choose truth, you are born anew in every moment. You are created anew in every moment. Spirit is intact, and your life is in spirit. Spirit doesn't have a single element of error, but mortality, carnal-mindedness, does. Carnal-mindedness is enmity against God. So when we look to the terror screen from human eyes and we see that this threat is coming, and some people choose to go along with that threat, and they will be thoroughly punished. It just behooves me why anybody would want to be burnt through the chastising of wisdom in that capacity, because that is an awful, awful thing. But those who are of the light remain in the light. Those who are not, their eternal consequence is that their name is not written in the book of life. Because it says in the Gnostic Gospels that unless you come to know the truth while you are in the flesh, then you shall not ever be of the truth. You can't just get a free pass because you went to church 4 times a year and you stuck your head in water and thought you were baptized and that you knew Christ. You didn't actually know Christ. If you commit adultery in your heart, which means to be of two minds, to be blasphemized by the world, to take their graven images from that terror screen and put it into the living imagination, is blasphemy. And then you contemplate wickedness, you see, then you become of this world. The carnal mind has seized you. And you see, it says in the Gnostic Gospels that they have bound you for eons in the middle place of human reasoning. And human reasoning is of the devil, and that is where the carnal mind sits on its throne. So the fulcrum of power, David's fulcrum. David is the one that rose from the ether, right? That is Neville Goddard 101, right? If you'd care to know where that came from. Because Neville Goddard also discovered the living imagination is the living Christ, and that is the true life of man. There is only one man. That is the only manifest of God, man manifest. And you live, move, and have your being in it. And everything else is a temporal illusion. See, this body right here, when I was allegedly 5 years old, the body of 5 years old is no longer here. It died because it was a temporal fleeting belief. See, all temporal fleeting beliefs are carnal by their very nature. They're enmity against God. See, they're blind to the truth. So we must peg ourselves to truth, and that's what PTT is all about. So by reading this book, now let me go on because there's more. By reading this book, you will know the first principle ideas to peg yourself to, and the be-all, end-all, simplistic version of it all is God is all and God is love. If you begin with God is all and God is love, it will take you so much further than you can even comprehend right now. I'll give you an example. I saw this image from the terror box, okay, yesterday, and it just got me a little bit because it said that they're going to come door to door and they're going to do these forced things on people. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. And I said, okay, God, I'm going to pray about this. I said, God, where do you want me to be? I said, okay. I said, no, I'm not going to start from that position. I'm not going to start from ignorance. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I started snapping my fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, snap. 1, 2, 3. Breaking the continuity of evidence of the material dream. That's what it's all about. Tick-tock timing. Disrupting it. So, I said, God is all, God is love. Every 4 seconds, snap fingers. In the middle of that pocket, I say, God is all, God is love. I'm destroying the propensity of my human mind to carry on that quest of ignorance, to try to figure it out, to try to reason it out. You can't get there from there. David's fulcrum is free will. So what I said is I have free will. God only gave me one thing, free will, to choose who I will serve. And serve means be governed by. If I'm governed by the world, I will choose terror and I will be fearful. If I'm governed by truth, I will know the thoughts of God and I will refuse to move from them. So I said, God is all, God is love. God is all, God is love. And I kept pegging myself to that principle in the midst of this 5-sense dream that was happening. And then I was asking the question. I said, felt the peace in my heart. I said, God, where should we go? And all of a sudden, it's like the volume on the radio turned up. And the song was In the Father's House. It was a Christian song that's out right now. I forgot the name of the guy. But I'll probably put the link below, okay? It said, lay your burdens down. You're in the Father's house. And that was an instant transmission from the parent mind of God to its child or offspring, which is his manifest. And I received it because an angel messenger. See, angels are messengers that carry the divine thoughts to God's man. God and God's man are one and the same. God's mind is the same mind as God's man. And so the parent mind sent the messenger and brought the bread of life, and I received the bread of life. I'm in the Father's house. Oh, I really had tears in my eyes because I realized that God's ways are so much beyond, further beyond man's ways. See, God knows before you even ask. That song was on before I even asked. Don't deny God. The truth and how to get there is always readily available to you. So back to the chapters. Gateway to the Other World is another excellent chapter. And yet I will praise thee. Okay? So those two chapters, what's important about that is in one of those chapters I have an assignment for you. You're going to do a visualization exercise and you're going to answer a few questions. And in the answering of those questions, you're going to find out quite a bit about yourself, and you're going to do an intake of your daily activities that you've done over the past 3 days. And it's going to reveal to you how confident you are and how much you trust God, whether you're choosing to walk by the fastest path to your joy in every moment, or you're choosing to live by human reasoning. See, living by human reasoning is error. Living by the fruits of the Spirit is truth. Walk not by sight, human sight, but by faith, right? You have to start living this. You can't just think this. You can't just go to church and think you know what you're talking about. You have to live it. And when you start living it, you're going to start living it up, because God's going to start showing up, because that's all there is God. And now you're not contemplating anything but all there is. So the next chapter is always look on the bright side of life. And that chapter right there in specific was 100% purely channeled. That was a altered state of consciousness when I wrote that. I was in a flow state. I had reached the pinnacle of flow state after days and days of writing. See, I exhausted all of the conscious mind, and I was in pure flow. I wrote everything with that pure flow. And when you read that, it is the summation. It is the summation of the concept of our great power from the Nag Hammadi library. And it teaches you about the fulcrum of power that I just described. And then we go into the perfect timing technique right there. And so then you have the explanation of that. You have the advanced 5 video series training. You probably already got into that if you've been watching this. And then you have the advanced material. So with that said, you have a limited time opportunity if you want to work with me direct. I'm offering a 1-hour session, private Zoom conference for you, just you and you alone. And what I'll do is I'll show up and I will guide you. I will help you. Okay, now keep in mind you're going to have to wait till these come in stock, because I just made the final edits and I have to submit it, and it takes another week for approval. But you will get a book, and I will guide you in filling out your book customized for you, so that everything is spot on for you and you alone. And then you carry your book and you use your book. See, doing precisely what I tell you is the difference between success and failure, because winners focus on where they are going to, and losers focus on what they're going through. See, they focus on the problems in the world and they get distracted, and distraction is the enemy. Distraction is what breaks all success. It destroys success. And since most people have the attention span of a goldfish or less, 8 seconds or less, their human reasoning is about as useful as a lifeguard at the Olympics. So this right here, not only does it give you the first principle ideas that you can highlight and then you can refer to and keep looking at them and keep tuning into them whenever you're distracted into the fear. And what you are using is you're using David's fulcrum. You are using the only thing God gave you that you are required to use to get into the kingdom of heaven, and that is your free will to choose who you will serve or who you will be governed by. Truth or error. You can't look at the error and get there from there. It doesn't work. It's a deceitful trap. It puts you down into the pit. You look to the truth, you hold to the truth, and then the truth comes to set you free, because you of yourself can do nothing. The truth is the Word, and the Word was created, and all that exists is created in the Word. And so when you identify and you root yourself to that, then that is Romans 8, for the law of spirit sets me free from the law of sin and death. That is what you want to do. Please, 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 if you follow this ministry, look, to print one of these in matte, okay, and the color pages is $9.55 per unit on Amazon, okay? Now, I marked it up the least amount that Amazon would allow me to. They won't let you sell it for cost. They have to mark it up a little bit, and so I marked it up the least bit, okay? This is not designed to, pull profits in, okay? This is brought down to the lowest common denominator because I want everybody to have this in your hands. I want you to use it. I want you to walk in freedom. Because what's happening right now is that, look around you. If you think that you've seen the end of the darkness rising, you have mistaken. Because what happens, and it talks about it in the Nag Hammadi library, is that when you start to come into truth, this is a personal, subjective hologram that you're living in. When you come into truth and the knowledge of truth, the outer becomes troubled because you are escaping the clutches of its grasp that it has had on you for eons. You've been mesmerized for eons. This is your last time through. However, you are going to have to war against the temptation to fall asleep as it keeps coming more and more and more and more and more and more like a fiery dragon, okay? You're going to have to level yourself up. you're going to have to go all in. You're going to have to, like hockey, go into the corner full on. If you go in hesitating, this is not the time to do that. This is not the time. Because the Nag Hammadi library says it is called the fire. And at first it comes to destroy everything, all dwellings in its place. That's all material consciousness. It will come to destroy and then it destroys itself, then it destroys all corporeality, which means all beliefs in matter. And then the rapture is when it describes about how truth becomes the allness of your consciousness, and then you ascend out of all belief in mortality, and then you are one and one with the mind, the parent mind. And that's where you're at right now. And if you don't see that, then there's nothing I can do to help you, and you might as well just go back to the other churches that are looking to the guy in the sky, and you might as well just fall back into that. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying unless you know what season we're in and wisdom has reached you, well, let's just say I hope you do. Because it's everything. That's why I gave up everything years ago. I didn't care about supplements anymore. I didn't care about doing any of this stuff. I sold my truck. I got rid of everything. It's not because I can't afford it, I can't have it. I can do whatever I desire, okay? The kingdom can provide all for me. It's about single-mindedness of purpose and avoiding all distractions because of the level of importance that is at hand here. This is everything. This is a mission. This is a once in your whole span of lifetimes opportunity for you to get it right. And so the chance to get started now is here. Now, if you are tithing to our ministry, you'll also be invited to join a private prayer group that we have. And that prayer group is going to meet twice a week, and we're going to start building our way all the way up to this workshop. And this workshop is going to come in October. And whatever is on God's heart is what will be taught and trained in that workshop. I don't question God. I did not have this book ready. Nothing of this was ready before I launched our last workshop. God said, hey, it's time for you to do a 30-day workshop because you're going to come out with new stuff. So I said, okay, great, I'll do it. So what came out of it? Everything you see here, graphics, the art, the chapters, the perfection of the technique, the prayer group that's coming, and then the new workshop. We are leveling up again. We are going up another notch. So that's where we're headed. And make sure you check out the videos below, the private videos. I'm not going to make them public. They're unlisted. You can have the links, watch them. If you want to, you don't have to. But I do suggest you watch the one where I break down the scripture, the concept of our great power. That one's cool. Because when you get this physical book in your hands, and I'll tell you when you can get it, I'll let you know when it's on Amazon. Right now you can get the ebook free on the link below. You can get the ebook and begin reading it. But you'll want to highlight this, and you'll want to really carry this with you during this season. I decided to serve God with everything I have, and I gave up everything in my former life to do this. And trust me when I tell you that this book is just as important for me as it is for you, and I carry this book with me, and it was a miracle. This showed up yesterday. I was doing God is all, God is love. God is all, God is love. God is all, and the song came on. You're in God's house. Lay your burdens down. I was like, oh my goodness. And then I get home and the package was here. Boom. My proof copy was there. I pushed everything aside. I read the whole book, highlighted it all. There were like 13 edits that had to be done. I sent them off for submission to perfect the book, make the edits go away, or, make the mistakes go away. And I've got the whole book highlighted. Now, after I'm done here, I'm going to fill out all of the want list and the I am statement that I'm going to look at 3 times a day. I'm going to spend this time filling this out. Because it is the way, it is the truth, and it is the life. I'll see you next time. Selah.